Lighting the fuse on the immigration powder keg, President Obama sets tomorrow night for the debut of executive action destined to ignite fireworks with Republicans. This is Special Report. Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. We have a pretty good idea of what President Obama plans to do about immigration. Details of the proposed plan we broke here on Special Report last week. Tonight, we know when he plans to do it. The president will address the nation tomorrow night to explain why he is taking matters into his own hands by reportedly legalizing millions of currently illegal immigrants. It's sure to set off a firestorm with Republicans anxious to flex their new muscle, controlling both the House and Senate next year. It is already doing that. White House correspondent Wendell Goler begins our coverage tonight.
In a Facebook posting, the president announced he's acting on his own this week.
Everybody agrees that our immigration system is broken. Unfortunately, Washington has allowed the problem to fester for too long.
Republicans had warned him against it. House Speaker John Boehner's spokesman said in a written statement, quote, "If Emperor Obama announces an amnesty plan that he himself has said over and over again exceeds his constitutional authority, he will cement his legacy of lawlessness." Mr. Obama has said in the past he can't reform immigration laws on his own, but aides say other presidents, including the first President Bush, shielded groups of immigrants using executive authority. And Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson denied Mr. Obama is exceeding his.
I am satisfied that our reforms are within our existing legal authorities, and they will address a number of things, including border security.
The president's order will shift the priority for deporting illegals away from those whose children were born here and expand specialty visas for high-tech workers. It will shield about 5 million people from deportation, but immigration reform groups say that's not enough, and Texas Senator John Cornyn says the order won't stop the people who benefit most from the broken immigration system, transnational cartels.
They traffic in children, they traffic in drugs, they traffic in weapons and the like. And the president's executive order does zero, zip, nada to shut that down.
Majority Leader Harry Reid says the answer is for the House to vote on the bill the Senate passed with bipartisan support.
If the Republicans in the House would allow a vote on the bill we passed here those many months ago, would pass overwhelmingly.
Republicans differ on how to respond to the executive order since they'll control both houses of Congress next year. Most are leaning against the government shutdown.
Shutting the government down doesn't solve the problem.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz says they should stop confirming presidential appointments, and some suggest riders on bills that would undo the executive action, which the White House suggests would trigger vetoes.
Obviously, we would take a very dim view of any efforts by Republicans to try to curtail the president's executive authority. Using a rider on a budget proposal.
The president will fly to Las Vegas on Friday to defend his executive order, something his aides expect he'll spend quite a bit of time doing in the weeks ahead. Brett?
Wendell Goler live on the North Lawn. Wendell, thank you. Much more on this with the panel later. Fallout tonight for the Obamacare architect, whose candid remarks about the health care law and Americans have put a political target on his back. Correspondent Doug McKelway is live tonight in Montpelier, Vermont, with repercussions there for Jonathan Gruber. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Brett. Jonathan Gruber, as we all know, has already suffered tremendous damage to his reputation, but late this afternoon, the state of Vermont hit him where it most hurts, in his wallet. The governor's point man on health care announced to the General Assembly that Vermont will no longer honor his contract.
I've told Mr. Gruber that I expect his team to complete the work that we need to provide the legislature and Vermonters with a public health care financing plan. I've also informed Mr. Gruber that we will not be paying him any further for his part in completing that work.
Gruber accepted the terms. Gruber's MIT research associates will continue to be paid and will do the bulk of the work. They're paid at $100 an hour compared to Gruber's $500 an hour. Gruber will get no more of the $400,000 contract with Vermont other than the $160,000 that he was already paid. The Vermont healthcare model that Gruber had been helping put together goes a lot farther than Obamacare. It provides single payer or universal health care. Still in the planning stages, it has been, by most accounts, a disaster and deeply divisive. That was before Gruber's name became a household word.
When you are coming to a group of people who are paying you a large sum of money to try to have something accomplished, and you treat them with disrespect, that leads, in my eyes, to a situation where he is not going to be credible when he tries to come into the legislature to sell whatever package he develops.
Even Democrats in this state, where wages are very flat, are deeply skeptical of any wildly huge increase in payroll taxes that would likely be used to fund single-payer health care. This state rakes in on an average year $2.7 billion in tax revenue. One forecast suggested that single-payer in Vermont would cost $2 billion. It would eat up most of the state's tax revenue. Right back to you.
Doug McKelway live in Vermont tonight. Doug, thank you. 2 Republican senators from Kansas say the Senate will move quickly to approve the Keystone XL pipeline after assuming control of the chamber next year. Kansas is one of the states the project will go through. This comes after last night's defeat of such a bill by a still democratically controlled Senate. For all the talk and legislative maneuvers about this pipeline, what you may not realize is that plenty of the Keystone project has already been constructed. Correspondent Casey Stiegel tells us about that tonight.
Folks in Cushing, Oklahoma are scratching their heads over last night's Senate vote where Democrats rejected the Keystone XL oil pipeline by 1 vote.
We are dependent in this community on the oil and gas industry, and without it, we have no jobs, we have no businesses.
Cushing residents know the Keystone project well. The southern portion of the pipeline travels right through their sleepy town. It runs from Steel City, Nebraska, through Cushing, then down through Texas to refineries on the Gulf in Nederland. The part in blue was voted down, a line that would connect Alberta, Canada to the hub in Steel City. Crude has been flowing through the southern pipeline since last January without incident. However, opponents of Keystone, like environmentalists and landowners, still have concerns over the possibility of leaking and ruptured lines carrying a toxic mixture of heavy tar sands. Texas watchdog group Public Citizen points to an oil pipeline operated by Enbridge in Michigan, which burst in 2010 and polluted the Kalamazoo River.
20 months after that spill, they still haven't cleaned up the river where it occurred. They've spent over $700 million, and they've still got a long stretch of river that is off limits to the public.
But those who call Cushing home believe the pros far outweigh the cons. Now they're disappointed other states could simply miss out.
And we have a whole lifetime of positive business from our pipeline and oil community.
Although the estimated construction of the pipeline would create about 42,000 new jobs, the U.S. State Department has been, quote, studying the environmental impact of the proposed pipeline now for more than 2 years. Brett?
Casey, thank you. Democrats are trying to come up with a way forward following their disastrous showing in the midterm elections earlier this month. What they're doing and how President Obama fits in are the subjects of Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel's report tonight.
I want to thank the bipartisan members of Congress who are here today.
A rare bipartisan tone from President Obama after his party suffered major losses in the midterm elections, and now there are signs of Democrats fracturing.
The bill is not passed.
Last night, Majority Leader Harry Reid threw Louisiana Democrat Senator Mary Landrieu a lifeline before her December 6th runoff, bringing up Keystone XL pipeline for a vote, but then allowed the measure to fail by 1 vote. It was a victory for the environmental wing of the party, while organized labor, Landrieu, and West Virginia's Joe Manchin are out in the cold.
I did not ask Harry Reid's permission to do this, and I did not inform Mitch McConnell.
She's not afraid to take on, whether it be the president, take on whether it be the leaders of her own party, or the establishment, if you will.
MSNBC host Rachel Maddow blasted the party for doing the Keystone vote instead of confirming Loretta Lynch to be Attorney General.
Democrats, you are amazing. You have been astonishing for a long time, but right now, in this lame duck period, you are astonishing. Now roll over and play dead.
Yet critics say the president's actions since the midterms reveal a decision to go left on issues such as Keystone, immigration, and climate change.
We cannot forget the need to lead on the global fight against climate change.
Since the election, Reid has found a leadership spot in the new Congress for liberal darling Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Our country is headed in the wrong direction. The game is rigged, but we know how to fix it.
Then just today, a close ally of Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, California's Anna Eshoo, lost a tough battle to be the ranking member on House Energy and Commerce to New Jersey's Frank Pallone. Some rank-and-file members say it's all part of the aftermath of a difficult election cycle.
I wouldn't call it disarray, but is there some thoughts about what direction, what strategy, what vision we should have? Yes, it's only natural.
Retiring Michigan Democrat Senator Carl Levin was fairly matter-of-fact in a recent interview about Republicans being able to withhold funding for Mr. Obama's immigration action. Perhaps a sign after 6 years some Democrats have had enough. Brett?
Mike Emanuel live on the Hill tonight. Mike, thanks. Up next, just who found all those outrageous Jonathan Gruber comments about Obamacare anyway? We'll hear from them. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates across the country are covering tonight. WSVN in Miami with a record contract for an American athlete. Miami Marlins outfielder Giancarlo Stanton signed his 13-year, $325 million deal today. This year, the 25-year-old Stanton led the National League in home runs, total bases, slugging percentage, and intentional walks. Fox 29 in Buffalo, where up to 5.5 feet of snow have fallen. And it's not over yet. More than 3 feet more of snow could be on the way for that region. Roads are closed, train service suspended, and at least 6 people have died. Governor Andrew Cuomo expects it will take 4 to 5 days to clean up there. And this is a live look at Detroit from our affiliate Fox 2. The big story there tonight, a looming showdown between the federal government and the Japanese company that makes car airbags linked to multiple deaths and injuries. The government wants Takata to recall millions of potentially faulty driver's side airbags, but the company insists that current recalls only in high humidity areas, mainly in the south, are sufficient. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.